Hello and welcome to this Excel tutorial. In the last video, we discussed the structure of a spreadsheet, how to create a new Excel workbook, how to customize a worksheet, how to enter data in Microsoft Excel and to do simple editing such as putting the values in bold, italics, changing the color of the cell's background, and other tips to enable you to work better in Excel. In this video, you will learn about the if function, what the if function is and how to use it to evaluate test scores for students. And I'll go back to the file that we were using in the last tutorial, and I want to introduce a new column here, and this will be an evaluation of whether the student has passed or has failed the test. So for lack of a better term to use, I will call this an evaluation, and I'll put it in bold. So I have a column here that for each student I want to evaluate whether the student has failed depending on the parameters that I'll set up. Now before we do that, I want us to look at the structure of an if function. And if you look at this here, if function usually has three parts. It has a logical test, a value if true, and a value if false. Now the logical test, which is the part 1, the if function checks if this test is true or false in the highlighted cell. Now if the function puts this value a value if true is the value that displays in the cell if the logical test is true. Now if the logical test is false, then the value if false is displayed in the cell. So in our test here, I want us to evaluate pass and fail. And for us, pass is 50 and above, a score of 50%. So I'll put here pass is either equal to or greater than 50. So this is 50 and above. Fail is a score that is below 50. I want us to come here in the first student is James, who has a score of 51, and this is the cell that we want to do the evaluation. So in Excel, you start by an equal sign, and then you type the formula. When I start typing, I get a list of the various functions that are available in Excel, and the first one, which is if, is the one that I want to choose. So when I double click on it, this is what happens. Now it tells me to put or rather to specify a logical test, and the logical test for me is to test whether score, which is the cell here B3, which is this, I want to click on it and say if opening brackets B3 is greater than, so I write greater than 50, then I'll put comma. That is my logical test. Value if true, if that is true, that means the student has passed. Now before I proceed, you notice in this formula here I have put pass in quotation marks. That is for Excel to be able to understand that I want this text to be displayed. Now if I was using numbers, I will just leave it without the quotation marks, and Excel will be able to input the number directly. Now there is an exemption to this, in which Excel recognizes the text that is either true or false. True as a text is part of the inbuilt formulas that or rather the expressions that Microsoft Excel will recognize without even requiring you to put quotation marks in when you write that text. Now this is the value if true. We want this to be pass, comma, when you put, sorry, so I'll go back to pass, put a comma, then value if false is, so if B3 is greater than 50, the student is at pass. If B3, if that evaluation is false, that means B3 is below 50 and the student has failed. And then close the formula. After closing, click on enter, and automatically 51, which is above 50, evaluates to a pass. Now we want to have the same formula in all of these cells. What you can do is you can repeat the same exercise and evaluate that cell to B4 greater than 50, and then value if true, I'll write pass. Value if false, I'll write fail, close, and enter, and that evaluates to a fail. Now there is an easier way, or rather a shortcut, of copying this formula to the rest of these cells. Now you notice if you highlight the cell and bring your mouse here to the farthest point here down this cell, this point, the cursor turns from a big plus to a small dark one, and when you click and drag down using your mouse, this formula is going to be copied to all these cells. And what this does is for every cell, the formula adjusts to evaluate the cell that is just before it, and that is how to do it. So you know this student has passed, this has failed, this is a fail, this is a pass, fail, 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 and you can still confirm using these parameters that we have discussed here. So that is it. That is how to use the if formula. It's just a simple way. I want to show you something before I finish this explaining this concept. Let's say I wanted to get the total number or the sum of these scores. What I will do is I'll come down here, or not necessarily here, but can be any cell, then put an equal sign and then write, or rather I can select the cell, put a plus, select this, put a plus, select this, put a plus, and do the same until I have added all those cells manually. And then this is the total for all these scores, and there is an easier way of doing it. I would put an equal sign, then write sum, select this, click on the first cell, and here until I capture that cell range and click on enter. I will just get the same result. The third way of doing it is coming down here, and under home tab there is this auto sum here, which if I click on it, it automatically captures the cell range above there and gives me the sum. So with this sum, if I wanted to get the average score for this class, the average score for this class would be this total divided by the number of the students, and we are having 9 students. So I'll come here and type average and then put an equal sign. So I have 503 divided by 9 students, and they have an average score of 55.88. So I hope you learned something and you will be able to put these tips into practice. Thank you for choosing to watch my video. I hope you consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Until next time, keep learning and keep practicing.